My wife sold my car to pay off her brother's debt, so I sold her jewelry, bought a new car, and left her standing in the driveway. I'm a 33-year-old guy, and for the longest time, I thought a good marriage was about sacrifice and teamwork. Danielle and I built a quiet, modest life together. We weren't flashy, but we had stability. I worked as a mechanic at a local garage, the kind of place where customers know you by name. For nearly 8 years, I put away a chunk of every paycheck. Some weeks, it was barely enough to notice, until finally, I bought my dream car, a restored 1972 Chevy Nova SS, midnight black with chrome trim, the kind of car that makes grown men pause mid-sentence when it rumbles by. It wasn't just a car, it was the result of a decade of sweat, savings, and skipped luxuries. Danielle was happy for me, or at least she said she was, but her focus always drifted elsewhere, usually to her younger brother Jared. He was 28, reckless and allergic to responsibility. Yet, somehow, in their family's eyes, he could do no wrong. She used to say, "He's just figuring things out." I believed her. I wanted to believe her. The first time she asked if we could lend Jared a little money, it was for rent. Then it was car repairs. Then he needed a small business loan for some app idea he couldn't explain. Each time, Danielle would say, "It's just this once," and I'd bite my tongue. I thought that's what partners do, support each other, even if it means biting down hard and letting a few things slide. Looking back, I should have asked myself, support who, exactly? But I didn't. Not until the day I walked outside, keys in hand, and realized my dream car, my one real indulgence, was gone. And that's where everything started to unravel. The first thing I did was call the police. I was pacing the driveway, heart racing, trying to remember if I had maybe parked somewhere else. I hadn't. The Nova was always there. It was supposed to be there. When the dispatcher asked if anyone else might have had access to the keys, my stomach turned. Danielle. She came home an hour later, keys jingling like nothing was wrong. I asked, "Where's the car?" She didn't even flinch, just set her purse down and said, "I sold it. Jared needed help." I stood there in complete silence. Not shock, silence. Like my brain couldn't process the words fast enough. "You what?" I finally choked out. "It was just sitting there, and you barely drive it. Jared's in deep, and if he doesn't pay back the guys he owes, you sold my car without telling me." Danielle frowned like I was the one being irrational. "You always said we're a team. This is what teams do." No, that's not what teams do. Teams talk. Teams compromise. Teams don't secretly sell off each other's dreams to bail out someone who treats life like a poker game. But, of course, Jared wasn't just in deep. He was always in deep. Always needing just one more loan, one more chance, one more sacrifice from someone else. And Danielle? She was always the one jumping to his defense. "It's not like you can't get another car," she said. Crossing her arms like that settled it. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was insane. She looked at me like I'd forgotten some shared moral code. Protect Jared at all costs. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about a car. This was about everything I thought I could trust. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a second. I lay there in bed, staring at the ceiling, while Danielle snored softly beside me like nothing had happened, as if she hadn't just ripped a piece of my soul out and handed it over to her reckless little brother. That car wasn't just some hobby. It was my escape, my reward. I'd spent years crawling under rusty trucks, busting my knuckles open, skipping vacations, just to bring that Nova back to life. I still remembered the smell of the fresh leather seats when I installed them, the way the engine growled like thunder when I turned the key, and she sold it. Behind my back, without a word. The next morning, I called the guy whose garage had helped me restore it. Maybe he'd heard something. Maybe someone bragged. But no, it was already gone. Transferred to a new owner with forged paperwork. Forged. I confronted Danielle again, this time calmer. More dangerous. "Did you sign my name?" I asked. She didn't even blink. "You weren't going to say yes." I had to do what was right. I stared at her. You committed fraud, Danielle. That's illegal. Oh, come on, she scoffed. Don't be dramatic. Jared needed it. My hands were trembling, and not from rage, but from restraint. I had never, in all our years together, raised my voice or cursed at her. But in that moment, I saw someone I didn't recognize. I didn't see my wife. I saw a liar, an enabler, and I wasn't just mourning a stolen car, I was mourning the loss of the woman I thought I married. But what hit hardest was realizing this probably wasn't the first time, just the first time I caught her. I sat in the garage that night staring at the empty space where my Nova used to be. The floor still had tiny black scuff marks from the tires, oil spots, a folded microfiber cloth I forgot to toss. It was like a crime scene where only the body was missing. My phone buzzed. Danielle had texted, "Jared says thank you." No apology, no guilt, just a thank you on behalf of a parasite. When I walked back into the house, she was watching some reality show, legs curled up on the couch like it was any other Tuesday. I stood in the doorway and said quietly, "You need to call the buyer. Reverse the sale." She didn't even look up. "It's done." "The money's already gone." I clenched my jaw. "Then I'm going to the police." "You forged my signature." "That's felony theft." That got her attention. Her head snapped toward me, eyes narrowing like I'd just threatened her family. "You'd really do that to me? Over a car?" "That car was mine, Danielle." "You had no right." She stood up, her voice rising. "You think you're the only one who sacrifices in this marriage. Jared's family. You always act like you're better than us." I let out a hollow laugh. "No, I act like I have boundaries. Maybe that's the problem. You think love means letting people use you." Suddenly, my phone rang. It was her mother, then her sister, then Jared. She'd already told them, spun the story, painted me as selfish, materialistic, ungrateful. Her mother's voicemail said, "Marriage is about compromise. Don't throw away your wife over something so petty." Petty? They all said the same thing. "It's just a car," but none of them asked what else she'd taken, and I was starting to wonder just how much. She'd stolen without me even noticing. Don't know what I was looking for when I pulled out our old tax records. Maybe proof I wasn't crazy. Maybe I just needed something to anchor me while the rest of my reality collapsed. But that's when I found it. An old deposit slip from last year. $3,200. The memo line just said estate sale. I didn't remember any estate sale, but I did remember my grandfather's coin collection. He'd given it to me when I was 15. Each coin sealed in protective sleeves, labeled with years and little handwritten notes in his shaky cursive. It wasn't worth a fortune, but it meant something. It was one of the last things I had from him, and just like the car, it was gone. I tore through the closet where I used to keep it, hoping maybe I'd just moved it, forgotten. But I knew. Deep down, I knew. When I asked Danielle, her face gave it away before her mouth did. She blinked once, then twice, and finally said, "I thought you'd never notice." "You sold it?" I whispered. "He needed bail money," she said. "And you never even looked at those dusty old things." I wanted to scream, to break something. But instead, I just sat down at the edge of the bed and stared at her. That was my family's history. My grandfather's handwriting. "You had no right." She had the audacity to roll her eyes. "It's not like I melted them down. They're probably in someone's collection now. Someone who actually appreciates them." That was the moment the fog lifted. This wasn't an isolated betrayal. It was a pattern. Quiet theft, gaslighting, justification, and suddenly I couldn't tell if I'd married a fool blinded by loyalty, or a thief wearing a wedding ring. I suggested therapy. Not because I thought it would fix everything. By then, I wasn't sure anything could, but because I needed proof that I wasn't the crazy one. That someone else could see what I was seeing. Danielle agreed, but reluctantly. She called it a waste of money and said we should just move on. Still, she showed up, sat stiffly on the couch with her arms folded like a teenager dragged to detention. In the first session, I laid it all out. The car, the coins, the forged signature, her excuses. The therapist didn't even blink, just looked at Danielle and asked, "Do you understand why that feels like betrayal?" Danielle laughed. actually laughed. He's just obsessed with stuff. Cars, coins, money. He doesn't care about people the way I do. I felt my face burn. It's not about the stuff, Danielle. It's about respect, about trust. She turned to the therapist. He's always acting like I'm some villain, like I'm trying to hurt him. But I was helping my brother. That's what family does. By the third session, she stopped pretending, showed up late, scrolled on her phone. When the therapist asked her directly if she felt any remorse, she shrugged and said, "He never listens to my side. So why should I care about his?" That's when I knew I was done trying to be understood. Meanwhile, Jared was posting photos on Instagram, rented cars, club nights, captioned, "Loyalty pays off." Loyalty. That word was starting to feel like a threat. I wasn't looking for revenge. I wasn't even looking for justice. I just wanted out. But getting out clean? That would require planning. And for once, I wasn't going to tell anyone what I was about to do next. I stopped arguing with her, stopped pointing out the lies, stopped expecting apologies. And that silence? It gave me space to think. I opened a new checking account in my name only, rerouted my direct deposit, locked my credit. I told the guys at work I was looking for a storage unit, for some tools, but really I was gathering everything I didn't want to lose. My dad's old socket set, my passport, spare cash, a USB drive with scanned copies of everything, titles, insurance, receipts. I also started tracking her jewelry, not the fashion pieces, the real ones. Her grandmother's diamond earrings, the rose gold necklace she only wore at weddings, the antique sapphire ring she bragged about being worth more than our couch. I knew where she kept them, knew the appraisal value, knew what pawnshops wouldn't ask too many questions. I wasn't planning to sell them. Not yet, but it helped to know I had leverage, something she couldn't afford to lose. At night, I'd lie next to her, eyes wide open, while she scrolled on her phone and muttered about Jared's latest disaster. I started hearing things differently, like background static that never shuts off. She'd say, "He just needs help getting back on his feet," and all I could think was, how many people have you trampled to help him stand? She didn't notice I'd stopped replying. She didn't ask where I was going after work. Didn't notice when I started driving a coworker's beater car instead of our family SUV. She thought she'd broken me, that I'd accepted my role in the loyalty game. But all she'd really done was give me a front row seat to the blueprint of exactly how to leave her, quietly, strategically, completely. She found the bank statement on a Saturday morning. I'd left it in my jacket by accident, a single sheet showing the balance in my new account. Not a lot, but enough to raise eyebrows. "Why do you have a separate account?" she asked, standing in the kitchen barefoot, hair still tangled from sleep. I didn't lie. I just stared at her and said, "To protect what's left of me." That's when she lost it. First, it was the tears. Big, dramatic sobs about betrayal, secrecy, how she always knew I didn't trust her. Then came the screaming. "You think you're some kind of victim? After everything I've sacrificed for this marriage?" The irony nearly made me laugh. But I didn't. I just said, "You sacrificed me." 15 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. Her family, again. Her mom, her sister, and of course, Jared. They'd been summoned like backup dancers in some guilt-ridden performance. "Don't throw your marriage away over this," her mother said gently, like she was de-escalating a toddler tantrum. "You're acting like a controlling freak," her sister chimed in. "Keeping secrets, hiding money?" Then Jared, arms crossed, smirking like he'd won. Real men protect their wives, not trap them with threats and bank statements. I stood there, surrounded in my own house, being lectured by people who'd stolen from me, lied to me, humiliated me, acting like I was the aggressor. Danielle held up our wedding photo from the mantel. "This is what you're willing to throw away?" I looked at it, and for the first time I felt nothing, no love, no anger, just a cold, heavy silence in my chest. And that's when I knew I had nothing left to lose, nothing left to protect, and nothing holding me back. A week later, I got a call from the local police precinct. I didn't even recognize the number at first, but something in the voice made my stomach knot. "Is this Mr. Thompson?" the officer asked. "We're calling regarding Jared Collins. He's been arrested for credit card fraud and identity theft." I sank into the chair. I felt my hands go cold. The Nova, the coins, the separate bank account. Everything Danielle had justified as helping him suddenly made sense. She'd been covering for criminal activity. "She's aware of this?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "Yes," the officer said. "We have records showing she knowingly facilitated transfers to him. She's technically an accomplice." I hung up and the world seemed quieter all of a sudden. My entire house, our house, felt like it had been standing on quicksand. I realized Danielle's loyalty had never been to me. Not once. Every lie, every theft, every excuse had been to protect Jared. Always Jared. I found her in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone, completely calm. "So, he got caught," I said flatly. She looked up, eyes narrowing. "Yeah, well, life happens. He's still my brother, that's it," I asked, voice shaking. "Nothing else." Her shoulders shrugged. "It's not my fault you don't get family loyalty. You just think everything is about you." For the first time, I didn't argue, didn't plead, didn't explain. I just looked at her and thought, this marriage, this life, all of it, had been built on illusions. I realized I had been defending my dreams against a woman who didn't respect them, and a family that didn't care, and in that realization, a strange clarity emerged. It was time to take back control. But first, she had to see what she'd lost. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was anxious, but because I was deciding. Every detail, every move had to be exact. I couldn't leave room for guilt, for hesitation, or for her manipulations. The next morning, I drove to a private collector I'd found months earlier, the one who handled rare estate jewelry discreetly. Her grandmother's diamond earrings, the sapphire ring, the rose gold necklace, all gone. Sold legally to someone who valued them far more than she ever did. The money went straight into the account I'd been building in secret, the one she'd raged about, the one she'd thought was a betrayal. By noon, I walked into the dealership and bought another 1972 Chevy Nova SS. This one even better than the last. Mint condition. Cherry paint, that deep growl of an engine that makes the ground vibrate. I drove it home slowly, letting the engine purr like a predator circling its prey. Pulled into the driveway, parked it perfectly where she could see it from the front door, and got out. Hands in my pockets, calm, quiet. She stepped outside just as I shut the car door, hair tied back, coffee mug in hand. Her jaw dropped. Her eyes went wide. "Is that yours?" she whispered, hesitant. I smiled faintly. "Parting gift," I said. To myself, I handed her the divorce papers. No lecture, no speech, no explanation beyond those two simple actions. The jewelry was gone. The car was mine. Her knees buckled slightly. She caught herself on the hood, staring at me like I'd grown into someone she didn't recognize. You can't," I cut her off. "Watch me." I got in the Nova, started the engine. She didn't move. She just stood there, frozen in the driveway, as the growl of the engine filled the silence. And for the first time in years, I felt lighter, free. But I knew this wasn't just a car or jewelry. It was the symbol of reclaiming everything she'd tried to take from me. I pulled slowly out of the driveway, letting the engine's hum fill the space between us. Danielle's voice called after me, shaky at first, then louder. "Wait! Stop! We can talk!" I didn't even glance in the rearview mirror. Her arms flailed as if she could physically grab the car and pull me back into the life I'd already decided to leave behind. Her calls started almost immediately. Phones buzzing, voicemails piling up. Some desperate, some angry, some dripping with manipulation. "I can't believe you'd do this to me. Think about what you're throwing away. Do you even love me anymore?" For a moment, I considered answering. Then I remembered the years of quiet theft, of excuses, of loyalty twisted into oppression. I remembered the coins, the Nova, the lies. I remembered every time she had chosen her brother over me, painting it as righteousness. I didn't answer. I moved into a small apartment across town that very week, changed my number, closed old email accounts, took nothing with me except what I couldn't bear to leave behind, my dignity and my future. Meanwhile, Danielle was left standing in the driveway staring at the empty street, her words swallowed by the roar of the engine fading in the distance. No cars, no jewelry, no leverage. And in that silence I realized something I hadn't before. Freedom isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It isn't about yelling or proving points. Sometimes freedom is just walking away, leaving people exactly where they made you feel powerless. Her phone kept buzzing, unanswered, a reminder that she no longer controlled my world. I wasn't angry anymore. Not really. I was finally free. But the best part, I didn't have to watch her figure it out. She could stand there, screaming into an empty driveway while I built a life where betrayal didn't exist. I've moved to a new city since then. Smaller apartment, quieter streets, a garage I call my own. The Nova sits in the driveway like a reminder, not of what I lost, but of what I reclaimed. Every time I turn the key, the engine roars, and I feel something I hadn't felt in years. Control. I think about Danielle sometimes. Not with longing, not with anger, but with clarity. She tried to define my life by her loyalty to someone else. She tried to make me a participant in her enabling, her theft, her lies. But in the end, I realized loyalty isn't given to the person who breaks you. Loyalty is what you keep for yourself. The jewelry, the car, the years of quiet sacrifice, they're all gone. But so is the weight they carried. I rebuilt in silence, meticulously, deliberately. The calls, the voicemails, the texts begging, pleading, threatening, they remain unread, unheard, irrelevant. Sometimes I think about the driveway and I smile. The image of her standing there, helpless, realizing she no longer had power over me, it's quiet justice and it's mine. No shouting, no revenge theatrics. Just calm, calculated closure. I've learned something fundamental about betrayal. It doesn't define you unless you let it. It either destroys you, or it becomes the fuel to reclaim yourself. I chose the latter. The Nova hums in the garage. The city outside is calm. And me, I finally understand what freedom smells like, feels like, sounds like. It's the roar of an engine under my hands. The absence of someone who never deserved me, the quiet satisfaction of walking away on my own terms. She sold my car, so I sold my silence, and for the first time in a decade, I feel unshakably, unapologetically free.